The avenue sizzled like a pan of oil. Horns, voices, quick steps. Sunlight slicing off glass storefronts so bright it hurt to look. The town car rolled to a stop at a red light, and Alex Gutierrez held his breath without noticing. At the busiest corner stood a dented iron cart, patched with tin, sweet smoke of cinnamon and sugar drifting up. Behind it, a woman in a brown t-shirt, hair pinned back in a rush. A red string bracelet faded but stubborn around her wrist, like a lifeline keeping someone upright who should have collapsed long ago. Beside her, two blond boys pressed dough through a metal press, turning out crooked, happy churros. Alex's world cracked open with a soundless snap. The boys had his chin, his hair color, even the little scratch at the ear when they focused. "Sir, the light's green." He didn't answer. His tie felt like a collar. "Pull over," he said, and he didn't recognize the thin glass of his own voice. He stepped out, trying not to look like what he was, a wealthy man suddenly unmoored, and crossed the street like someone walking onto a stage without lines. Hot oil, cinnamon, memory, Daniela. Her name rose from his throat, tasting like metal. 6 years. He saw the last day, a pale dress, her hand on a just-there belly, asking him to make an appointment. He, smiling politely at Japanese investors, promising, "Next time." There was no next time. One boy noticed the suit, the height, the watch. Alex instinctively slid into his pocket. "Morning, sir." The other looked up, curious. Daniela turned. First, she went white, then flushed, then a color he didn't know, fatigue tempered into steel. Alex. His name in her mouth, a dry blade. "Daniela, The words fell apart when the boys drifted closer, waiting for an explanation she served in one breath. "Go inside and put the napkins away. Now." Her voice had the steadiness of someone who feels the ground starting to crack. When they were more or less alone, he stared at the red thread at her wrist, a talisman against sinking. "They're my children." He didn't ask. He announced. "They were, if you'd care to know." She flipped a churro with the muscle memory of 1,000 mornings. "Now they're mine." A longhorn shrieked. The cart hissed. A man complained about change. Daniela handed over coins, smiled mechanically, then turned back without the smile. "You vanished." "You vanished," he said, and the answer came, 6 years in the making. "I called 5 times the next day. Your assistant said, if anything, speak to legal. I got the message." The back of his neck burned. Fernanda. Black coffee. A crowded calendar. "Leave it to me." The taste of his own negligence turned bitter. "I didn't know you were pregnant." Daniela let out a laugh without humor. "And now you think that changes everything?" She set the spatula down, wiped her hands on a stained apron, and for a second exhaustion shadowed her face. The boys laughed at a secret joke. Alex looked at them like a traveler realizing the country he'd been missing was his all along. "Let me help," he said softly, to keep the tremor out. "I don't need it." Her no was a wall topped with glass. He looked around. A soda bottle cut to hold oil, a warped wheel, a cracked griddle. He saw danger in everything, and saw too a fortress. "This isn't being okay, Daniela. It's more dignified than anything you can hand me." Her eyes weren't angry. They belonged to someone who'd pushed the world uphill alone for too long. "I built this with my hands. They know what bread costs. They know where it comes from." "Our sons," he tried, and the wall rose an inch. "My sons," she corrected, each syllable a serrated edge. "You chose your meeting. That was your answer." Noise faded, as if someone turned a dial. One boy tilted his head just so, and Alex saw it. A tiny mole on his neck, identical to his. He groped for a sentence that could break the bad spell. "What are their names?" "Mateo and Diego." The swift add-on. "I chose them alone," was a short knife. A customer came up. She worked. He stood there in his expensive suit, useless amid sugar smoke and old regrets. "I'll be back," he said. "You don't have to. I'll still be back." He walked away, picking up invisible shards of a broken vase, and slid into the car like a man entering a confession. The driver asked for a destination. He said office, but he meant past. Mirrors in the elevator returned a stranger, a perfect suit stuck on crooked. Glass and chrome gave him back the man he used to be, decisive, fast, armored. But everything was out of focus. Reports shook in his hand, graphs blurred. Every number felt like a birthday candle he hadn't blown out. When Fernanda came in with contracts and urgency, he saw her clearly for the first time, the filter between him and the human world. "Sit," he said. "Of course, Mr. Gutierrez. Is something urgent?" 6 years ago, Daniela called. "What did you tell her?" Fernanda blinked half a second too long. "I explained you were unavailable. I directed her to counsel, per policy. I never told you to say that." A defensive micro-flick ran across her jaw. "I protected you from unnecessary drama," she recited. "She wanted attention, Alex. Money, it's always the same." She was pregnant. Silence fell heavy. Fernanda looked for somewhere to rest her eyes and found nowhere. "I didn't know, or didn't want to." He ended it with, "You can go." When the door clicked shut, 6 years echoed off the glass. He called the investigations firm he used for acquisitions, the kind of things that never shook. Information arrived like a bad movie montage. A back unit, cheap rent, a shared bathroom, dawns of dough and broken sleep, 12 hours on her feet, 4 off, a mother on a tightrope catching 2 boys with her teeth. Next morning he returned. No luxury car, no visible watch. Just jeans, sneakers, and guilt that didn't fit his frame. Daniela saw him coming, her face closed like a window in a storm. "I don't want you here." "I know. I just wanted to see if they're okay." "They're where they should be, at daycare, and I'm where I should be, working." She spoke while flipping dough, efficient, economical. A balloon vendor blew up a red heart that slipped from his hands and lifted away, defying gravity. Alex watched it and felt something ridiculous and true, an urge to tug that string and bring the heart back down to chest level. "Let me help with money. Money is easy for you." She bit her lip, the same gesture as before, now carrying the weight of a grocery list, a child's fever, a late rent. Presence is what you don't know how to give. He looked for a center he'd never used. "I can learn." "Learning takes time." "I don't have time to teach a grown man." The news vendor across the way coughed loudly, like a stage cue. The world kept moving. Alex didn't. "At least let me fix the griddle. It's dangerous." Dangerous is believing again. The words hung between them, hot as oil. He almost left, almost accepted the sentence, but stayed. Leaning against a post, sipping thin coffee from a foam cup, he watched her rhythm with customers, the quiet respect she gave even to the rude. He noticed that every time someone forgot change, she logged it in a wrinkled notebook with a failing blue pen, her honesty old-fashioned and unbreakable. He saw the red string, faded, like a promise. "I will not fall." Somehow that string held him. Late afternoon, he crossed to a toy store, came back with bags, RC car, Play-Doh kits, books. For the boys. Daniela looked at the bags like heavy stones. Take them back. They're for them. Take them. Louder now, heads turning. You think you can buy late presents? He stared at the plastic shine and felt ridiculous, boyish, late. You're right. He turned to leave. She sighed, no sweetness, and said, Leave them. They'll like it. But don't show up thinking this buys you anything. I understand. What he really understood was that every step would be slow, and hurry had always been his sin. That night, the big apartment sounded like the sea in the distance. Alex opened a box of old frames that never matched the minimalist decor. College, her eyes smiling a second before her mouth. Him with the arrogance of someone who thinks the world is inventory. A beach, his nose pink from sun, her head thrown back laughing, a brand new red thread on her wrist. A detail he'd never seen because he'd never looked. He set the photos out like evidence. Texted, I'm sorry. I can't undo, but I can show up from now on. I want to meet our sons. I won't promise what I can't keep. No answer. He listened to the wall clock, his mother's gift, ticking like footsteps slipping down a hall. He thought of Graciela, hair immaculate, eyes trained to find flaws, of a father idolized and absent for all the small things. For a moment he felt like a boy again, fingertips on the edge of a table set for 2 adults. The phone buzzed. They wake at 6:30. If you want to meet them, come tomorrow. Rules. Don't say you're their father. Don't make promises. Don't bring gifts. If you can't do that, don't come. He typed, I'll come. Deleted. Typed, I will be there. Deleted. Sent, I'll be there. The period felt less like punctuation and more like a vow under his ribs. He didn't sleep. At 5, he rose. Dressed simply. Left the expensive watch in a drawer like disarming an alarm only he could hear. The park sprinklers still dampened the grass. 2 old men set up dominoes. A woman walked by with earbuds and a neon bottle. He envied that ordinary cadence, the kind that knows when to breathe. Daniela's neighborhood was a patchwork, houses pressed together, fence over fence, old shingles, laundry lines, wires like nets trying to catch the sky. He parked far. The import car didn't belong. At the rusted gate, a note listed trash pickup hours. He knocked. Daniela opened in an old hoodie, damp hair, no makeup. Her eyes were awake before the rest of her. You came. I said I would. Come in. The back unit was smaller than any conference room he owned, but it was alive. Backpacks hung from a bent nail, a crayon drawing taped to a peeling wall, coffee and wet plaster. Mateo and Diego ate buttered toast on bright plates, legs folded on the floor. They stopped. Their clear looks scanned him like checking the weather. Boys, this is Alex, a friend of mine. The knot in his throat tightened exactly where words would hurt less. He crouched to their height. Hi. You're tall, said one. You have a gold watch, said the other. He hit his wrist like a thief caught. It's old. A gift. The younger added without malice. Mom has a watch on her phone. Mateo, Daniela said, and his name in her mom voice settled the room with a brief peace. Alex stayed an hour. Didn't try to fix, just learned how to exist around them. Daniela coaxed tangles through hair with patience even when the comb lied about a knot. He saw the hug they practiced at the door, the deep breath she whispered, and they copied. 3 counts in, 3 out, a ritual born from hard nights, or a self-care video on an old phone. He recognized a discipline he never mastered, caring for the invisible. Can I walk them to daycare? He asked at the door. Not today. They barely know you. We go slow. The "we" sparked in the dark. He didn't blow on it. Can I come back tomorrow? You can, my rules. One sign you'll hurt them, it's over. I won't. Promises, she said, and left the sentence hanging. The silence finished it. Promises have legs. They run. The work is making them stay. On the way back, he saw things that hadn't existed before. An older woman sweeping her stoop, aligning leaves the wind would return. The smell of bread from a cramped bakery. A boy selling silver airplane keychains. Alex bought one, overpaid. The boy handed the extra back. Mister, this is too much. Honesty jolted a life used to convenient rounding. At work, the bright lights felt like interrogation. His team waited for a go-ahead on expansion. He spoke less, listened more. When Fernanda moved to optimize by canceling site visits to speed a deal, he said, "No." The room blinked. So did he. Then HR. He asked them to review protocols for screening personal calls. No one understood, but they took notes. He texted Daniela. 6:30 tomorrow? She answered fast. Yes. That evening, his mother called. I'm hearing you've been in a rough neighborhood with a woman and a food cart. What is going on, Alex? City lights spread like sequins beyond the glass. I'm fixing what I broke. Crystal cracked on her sigh. Dinner tomorrow. Explained to my face. He agreed, knowing it was another kind of corner. Before sleep, he opened his nightstand. The red string bracelet, left there years ago, a beach gift from Daniela, so you remember what matters, was nearly intact. He tied it on. The knot sat crooked, but held. For once, the wall clock's tick matched his chest. He wanted to believe it was possible to relearn, to show up, to listen, to be on time. The phone buzzed again. An address, no greeting. Then a second message, cold and warm at once. If you're 1 minute late, don't come. He looked at the display. 6:25. He ran. Alex arrived at 6:29. The sun hadn't cleared the antennas yet. The street breathed quietly. Daniela opened the gate in the same sweatshirt as yesterday. But something was different. The tiniest lowering of her guard, or maybe simply the fact he kept his word. The boys munched cereal at the table. You're the watch guy? One asked. No watch today, Alex said, showing his wrist, only the red thread. The boys grinned at the nothing of it. Daniela understood and looked away. You can walk them to daycare. 3 blocks, right turn, blue gate. Should I pick them up? Not today. Just take them, then go back to your world. They walked ahead, one dinosaur backpack, one superheroes. Alex followed, alert to steps, laughter, tiny squabbles over who hit the crosswalk button. At the gate, he knelt to say goodbye. Are you Mom's dad? Diego asked solemnly. No, just a friend. The knot burned. But you act like a dad, the other said. You've got the same dot. Alex laughed, thin, and put a finger to his lips. Both boys nodded, conspirators. On his way back, he bought 2 sweet rolls. He didn't know why, maybe to belong to their morning somehow. At the cart, he said, brought coffee and bread. Thought you wouldn't have time. She hesitated, then took them. Thanks. The quiet between them felt like brushing dust off buried ruins. One wrong word could collapse or rebuild. I spoke to Fernanda, he said at last. And? She admitted she blocked you. Said she was protecting me. I've heard that before, Daniela murmured. Everyone thinks they're protecting me. From myself, maybe. He almost reached for her arm, didn't. I would have been there if I'd known. You've always had a choice. You chose not to look." He swallowed the long defense, the list of reasons, the hurt pride, and stayed quiet. Sometimes silence is the only honest apology. A kid on a bike skidded to a stop. "Gas depot's out, no refills till next week." Daniela inhaled. "Next week? I've got a line every day." "I'll handle it," Alex said. "You don't need to. You'll lose money, and you'll think you bought me." He was already on the phone. A truck pulled up 30 minutes later with a spare tank. She folded her arms, tense. "I didn't ask for this. Call it a loan. Pay me back when you can. With interest? No rush." She let out a short laugh. "Generous, Alex. That's new." 2 men at the bus stop watched. One muttered, "Pretty story." "Shame it's always too late," Alex heard. For once, he didn't argue. That afternoon, Daniela bought flour and oil. In the checkout's dull chrome, she caught herself. A sun-marked face, tired but eyes still alive. She typed Alex a message, deleted it. Back home, an envelope waited under the door. His handwriting, steady, controlled. Inside, a single page. "I don't want to take anything from you. I want to give back the time I stole." Below, a transfer covering the late rent. She pressed the envelope to her forehead. She didn't know whether to thank him or cry. Days later, Alex received a hospital email. Donations needed for pediatrics. Without overthinking, he sent a large sum, requesting anonymity. When the director called to thank him, Alex said, "Consider it in the name of Daniela Gutierrez." It was the first time in years he spoke her last name like returning something that shouldn't have been taken. On the weekend, she took the boys to the park. Sun sifted through leaves. The wind smelled like popcorn and wet grass. Alex arrived quietly with a bag of fruit. "You promised no gifts," she reminded him. "For sharing," he said, "not presents." The boys flew down the slide, yelling each other's names. Daniela's body slowly unclenched. They never stop. They're incredible. They're stubborn. Takes one to know one. A small smile flickered. A child nearby crashed a bike and cried. Alex ran, cleaned a scraped knee with the handkerchief in his pocket. Daniela watched. The careful man was new, or buried under fear all along. "You're not the man who left me," she said when he returned. "No, that one was blind. This one is trying to see." Monday, the past fought back. A gossip post. "Millionaire businessman seen with woman from a low-income neighborhood." It spread fast. At the board meeting, a partner asked if it was true. Alex didn't blink. "Yes, and I'm proud of it." Fernanda arrived pale. "You're exposing yourself. Your image. My image never played with anyone's children." She recoiled, wounded. He realized he didn't need anyone's approval anymore. That afternoon at the cart, Daniela looked uneasy. "I saw the article. Now everybody's talking." I said nothing. "I know. But they're speaking for you, and I don't want that spotlight. If you want, I'll disappear." She thought, "Don't. Just be quiet for a while. Let it pass." He nodded. "I'll be where you need." As he left, she noticed the red thread on his wrist and the way he said goodbye, with respect. For the first time, she felt the past rearranging itself in silence, like a breath learned again. Next morning, a small box sat by the cart. Inside, a smooth light stone, hand-etched. "Patience is another way to love." On the back, only an A. She smiled to herself. She knew this wasn't reconciliation. It was the start of something slower. more real. The understanding that sometimes love must relearn to walk before it remembers how to run. But the day had other plans. Afternoon fell heavy over the city. Gasoline in the air, rain threatening. Daniela was packing up when the phone rang, the daycare. "Mrs. Gonzalez, your son Mateo fell on the playground. It looks serious. We've called an ambulance." The ground vanished. She dropped the still hot spatula, yelled for a neighbor to watch the cart, and ran, heart punching her ribs. At the hospital, Diego cried on a plastic chair. "Mom, his arm is bent weird." She crushed him into a hug. "He'll be okay, baby." A steady voice behind her. "Daniela." Alex. White shirt, tense eyes, wallet in his hand like a shield. "I came as soon as I heard." "Who called you?" "The director. I asked her to notify me if anything happened." Protest rose, but fear was louder. She nodded. A doctor appeared. "Mother of Mateo Gonzalez?" "I am." "Broken forearm. We'll cast it. He's fine. Full recovery." Tears slipped soundless. Alex touched her shoulder, gentle, uninvited. "It's going to be okay." She didn't pull away. In the room, Mateo smiled, loopy from sedation. "Look, Mama, robot arm." Daniela laughed through tears. "Bravest robot in the world." Alex dragged a chair close. "May I stay?" "Stay." They watched him sleep. The room's hum turned sacred. When the nurse brought the bill, Daniela reached for crumpled bills in her apron. "You don't need to," Alex said. "I can pay. I can manage. Let me, please." Pride put up one last wall. She looked at the sleeping boy and let it lower. "Okay." That night he took the three of them home in a taxi. Mateo slept across her lap, cast propped on a pillow. Diego leaned against the man who was his father and didn't know it yet. At the door she whispered, "Thank you for everything. Don't thank me. I should have always been here." She studied his face. He looked wrung out and honest. "Stay a bit?" The words slipped out. He stayed. Cooked simple food, rice, eggs, black coffee, then washed dishes while Daniela settled the boys. When he finished, she slid down the wall to the floor. "I forgot how good it feels not to do it all alone." He smiled. "You shouldn't have had to remember." For a few minutes, the quiet was peace, not tension. "If you want to help," she said, "help for real. Not with presents. With presents." He nodded. "I'll be here. Every day if you'll let me." He showed up early, before work, walked them to school, picked them up, helped with homework. Neighbors whispered. Some said he was the dad, others a suitor. Daniela didn't correct anyone. Inside, fear kept asking, what if he disappears again? One morning over coffee he said, "I'm changing my schedule. Less time at the office." Is that possible for someone like you? It used to be impossible. Now it's necessary. Her eyebrows rose. Will your company like that? My company can wait. My kids can't. The word kids hung in the air. She heard it, swallowed, didn't correct him. Weeks slipped past. Mateo learned life with a cast. Diego started calling him favorite uncle. The word uncle broke Alex's heart each time, but he knew love can't be imposed. It's built. One afternoon, as the boys played, Daniela admitted, "When they were born, I swore I'd never depend on anyone. That I'd be enough. You were." "No, I survived. Being enough isn't the same as surviving." He looked at her with tenderness. "Let me help you live, not just survive." She looked away, a tiny smile cracking the old wool. 2 weeks later, his attorney called. "Fernanda's spreading rumors. Says you're being blackmailed and she'll release documents. Alex's hand tightened. She's lying. Do you want to sue? No. I want her to stop. That night he told Daniela, I don't want to be a scandal, she said. You aren't the scandal, he answered. You're the truth. Sunday, Matteo wanted the park again. Alex brought a kite. They spent the afternoon learning the wind. When it finally caught, the boys shrieked. Look, Mama, it's flying! Let it fly, honey, she called. Alex glanced at her. You should let it too. Let what? The past. It's heavy if you want to soar. She breathed in, as if realizing wind can lift forgiveness too. After bedtime, they sat on the curb. The street hushed. Some days I still hate you, she said. Some days I hate me. But today, thank you for staying. Today is just the start, he said. She leaned her head on his shoulder. No promise, no song. Only the certainty that sometimes love restarts the instant fear goes quiet. The next morning came with a different wind, cold, sharp, as if the city breathed through its cracks. Alex parked far from the skyline that once meant victory and now meant distance. In his bag, an envelope heavy with documents, proof, secrets. Today would cost him. At the office, whispers. In the elevator, silence. Fernanda waited, arms crossed, polished smile. You've skipped meetings. Investors are nervous. Not as nervous as I was reading what you've been saying. You mean the interview? Nothing personal. Business. Destroying a reputation is a revenue model now. She stepped closer, perfume cool and expensive. You've gone irrational. All for a woman who walked away, risking years of work for… what? Guilt? He held the envelope. Justice. You think she loves you. She's using you. I saved you from her once. He laughed without joy. You saved me from being human, taught me to price everything, and I believed you. She moved in, eyes flashing. Walk out of here and you lose everything. The board's with me. I can end you. You already did. He handed over the envelope. These are the transfers you hid, the fake agreements. Legal has them now. Her face drained. You wouldn't. I did. Time froze. A crack ran through her mask. You'll regret this. I've already regretted what mattered. This is just the bill coming due. He walked out lighter, not because guilt vanished, but because he was finally whole. Across town, clouds broke open. Thunder. The metallic smell before a storm. Daniela strapped down the cart, trying to shield the gas and batter. Home before it hits, she told the boys. The rain came first, hard and mean. The street turned into a shallow river. She pulled the kids along, threw a tarp over the cart, ran. A car skidded, jumped the curb. She shoved them aside and fell. Pain, noise, then quiet. Alex was in the car when his phone rang. Unknown number. Is this the emergency contact for Daniela Gonzalez? Air disappeared. Yes, what happened? Accident. She's at Central. He drove like time could bend. Arrived soaked, shoes muddy, face chalk white. The boys clung to a nurse. She's sleeping, mister, Diego said, eyes swollen. The doctor, fractured hip, blood loss. She's stable, needs rest. Alex gripped the wall. Can I see her? 5 minutes. Inside, Daniela lay pale but alive. The monitor blinked steady. The red thread on her wrist was torn, stained. You promised not to disappear, she murmured in a half-dream. I didn't. I'm here. Her eyes opened. You always show up in the last minute. But I show up. A half smile. one tear. Sleep took her back. He stayed for days, fed the boys, paid bills without speeches. When she woke to find them curled on the waiting room couch and Alex typing, she asked, "Working here now?" "No, writing you a letter, so I don't forget what I need to say." "Read it." He inhaled, voice low. "You taught me the value of small things, the smell of bread, the sound of laughing, the courage to ask forgiveness. I've lived around everything except meaning. If you forgive me someday, I don't want what we had. I want to start at zero." Daniela closed her eyes, cried softly. Maybe zero is exactly where to begin. 2 days later, she was discharged. Alex arranged everything, waited for her to ask for a ride. She didn't. He walked beside her to the door anyway. "Want me to take you?" "I can go alone." "I know. Can I go with you?" She hesitated, smiled, exhausted. "You can." A strip of shy sun split the clouds as the taxi rolled. She leaned her head on the window. "You've lost a lot because of me." "No, I lost when I didn't have you." She huffed. "You always talk pretty when you're fixing something." "I'm not fixing. I'm caring." The quiet between them warmed. No erasing, just acceptance of what stayed. That night she slept in her own bed for the first time in days. Alex stayed in the living room with the boys. Near dawn, Mateo mumbled, "Uncle, you're like the dads in cartoons." Alex smiled. "How are they?" "They stay close, even when we sleep." He looked at Daniela and whispered, "Then, I think I'm that kind." 3 a.m. The rain eased. Roosters and First Scooters took over the soundtrack. For the first time in years, Alex felt certain tomorrow existed and that he wanted all of it. Weeks later, under string lights in a small plaza after the boys' school performance, Alex clapped with quiet tears. The red thread on his wrist, on hers, a new one braided with gold thread the kids made. For luck and for love. When the crowd thinned, stars scattered above them. "Remember what I said when we split?" he asked. "That love without time is just a promise." "Well, I think we finally found time." Daniela smiled. "And it's on our side." He took her hand. No grand vows. Just the calm press of fingers from people who understand that loving is also resting. The boys sprinted over with their patched-up kite. "One more time?" "Of course," Daniela said. Under a clean sky, all four held the line. The wind rose and the kite climbed, light and sure. For a brief moment, the world felt whole. This story reminds us that true energy comes from within, the kind that renews us every day. If this story touched your heart, check the pinned comment to discover products that inspire renewal and balance. Leave a like and subscribe to join us in our next story.